Hey y'all, it's Nikki. I have to tell you about Tecovas boots. I finally have a pair and they're handmade, high quality, stylish, and comfortable. I even got them customized with leather stamping. The folks at Tecovas will help you find just the right pair. So swing by for yours at the Tecovas flagship on South Congress or their store at the Domain. Plus, good news, they just opened a new store in Georgetown at 709 Main Street for those of y'all that live a little further north. So come shop with me at Tecovas. That's TECOVAS.com. Don't go gently, y'all. Today on CityCast Austin, recently Austinites learned that 2 suspected murderers were released from jail after the district attorney's office missed deadlines. And y'all, that's just one example of issues that are causing concern. So once again, Travis County DA Jose Garza is in the hot seat. It's Wednesday, March 26th. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here today with Tony Plahetsky, investigative reporter for KVUE and the Austin American-Statesman. Hi, Tony.
Hey, Nikki, great to be with you again.
I know. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So recently, Travis County District Attorney Jose Garza has been under some fire for missing deadlines. So can you, off top, why should Austinites be concerned about this?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of reasons that this has really led to a firestorm and frankly, a lot of scrutiny on his office. It started with 2 murder cases in which 2 defendants accused of murder were released on dramatically lowered bonds. One of them was released on a $1 bond. The other one was released on a $100 bond.
What?
Exactly. And their original bond, the first one was set at $1 million for one murder defendant. The other one was set at $850,000. And so what happens is that under Texas law, if a person is not formally charged through an indictment and they are in jail, prosecutors have 90 days to bring that indictment against them. If they don't, then the law says those defendants must be released on a bond amount that they can meet. And in these 2 cases, that did not happen. And so that led to, in fact, their release. And then as part of that, a significant public outcry.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I feel like there's no way I'm understanding this right. If someone is arrested for something, you have 90 days to indict them. Is that correct? If they're in jail?
That's right. A felony charge. Now,
a felony charge.
A felony charge. This does not deal with misdemeanors.
Our DA's office had 90 days, and these people were not indicted within that 90 days?
That's exactly what happened. And so once this outcry ensued, we went to the district attorney's office and said, hey, what's up? And initially, they said this was the poor performance or lack of performance of a prosecutor overseeing these 2 murder cases in one particular court. District Attorney Jose Garza described this as sort of a management issue and said that prosecutor has subsequently left the district attorney's office. As the district attorney, it's, ultimately his responsibility. Right. But in his public comments, he attributed to the lapse to the work of one particular prosecutor who he said was no longer in the office. But Nikki, as our reporting has gone on, this issue has really expanded, and we've been able to identify a far more pervasive problem within his office that goes well beyond one particular prosecutor and one particular court.
How far beyond? What are we talking about? What is it? Is it like this isn't the only one?
That's right. That's right. Yes. Exactly.
No,
yeah.
Tony. No.
And in addition to people getting out because they had not been indicted within 90 days. At the other end of the spectrum, Nikki, we identified other cases in which felony defendants remained in jail for significantly longer because even though they had not been indicted, because no one had gotten them out. So there's an issue then with potential, civil rights violations, violations of people's rights, keeping them behind bars for significantly longer periods of time without an indictment.
This is really concerning because and honestly, either way, to your point, we're just talking about people's rights, right? Do you think it's a staffing issue? Do you think it's apathy? Because Garza defended himself saying that the deadline wasn't as hard and fast as it seems.
So this is all evolved, Nikki, and has continued to evolve. So it begins with those 2 murder cases. But then through our own reporting on a single day in February, we decided just to take a snapshot of one single day and analyze how many people are in jail beyond 90 days on that single day. And what we found were that 26 people were in the Travis County Jail beyond that 90-day deadline for prosecutors to indict. So then we go back to the district attorney, we go back to DA Garza, and we say, well, what about this? And at that point, he said, well, actually, prosecutors don't have a deadline to indict. We actually don't have a 90-day deadline to indict. The law does not require that of us. And while in many ways that is technically true, what the law says is that a person must be released if they have not been indicted in 90 days. And so prosecutors all over the state of Texas have entire frameworks. They have entire, structures in place. They have policies in place to ensure that they are bringing these indictments in a timely manner. I talked to prosecutors who have worked in other jurisdictions, including one in Houston and Harris County. And he was like, that was the stuff that would keep you up at night as a prosecutor is whether or not you were going to miss those 90 days. Another one said, it's the stuff that nightmares are made of for prosecutors, is that you wake up and that you've missed the deadline to indict. So Garza's like, well, we actually don't have a deadline.
I just want to make sure I understand this. Is it kind of like these are best practices? We think that the best way to do this is within 90 days, make sure you have your person indicted. But there is no hard, fast law. Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, I think that depends on who you ask. I think every prosecutor will tell you that I have talked to across the state is that they interpret the law as to impose a deadline, basically, on prosecutors to bring a charge. Jose Garza and his office and his administration is the first time that I've ever heard someone not describe it in that way. So it did, frankly, make it more confusing. Right. But I do want to tell you this, Nikki, at the same time that he's saying that they don't have a deadline, his office is also rolling out a new memo to their staff, putting new structures and new policies in place around, guess what? Making sure that they bring the indictments within 90 days.
Oh my God. Okay, at the end of the day, did he ever say, what's the holdup?
He did not, but other people have. When I say other people, I mean primarily defense attorneys who obviously work in this system day in, day out. Many of them veteran defense attorneys who have worked across multiple administrations. And one of the things that they point to is the fact that when Jose Garza took office in 2021, he basically disbanded an entire unit called the Grand Jury Intake Unit. And so that unit was the unit primarily responsible for watching the calendar, and working up the cases and presenting them to the grand jury within that 90-day period.
Okay.
Now, the Garza administration will tell you that the reason they made that shift was to provide continuity throughout the duration of a case in the system, so that the same prosecutor, it lands in their hands on day one, and then that prosecutor sees it through. The problem, though, with that is that the prosecutors who are handling these cases are also busy with pretrial settings, the trials themselves. They have a lot of other duties in addition to now working up the cases to present them to a grand jury. And so what defense attorneys say has happened is that, frankly, it just got away from them. They weren't, scrupulously watching these cases, scrupulously watching the calendar. And so that has resulted in sort of the issue that has been brought to light now.
There's a new show coming to the Zach Theater, and it sounds incredible. Y'all have to go check out Bob and Jean, A Love Story, written by Robert Schenken, a Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright. So when Bob is deployed overseas and Jean tours with the USO, distance tests their devotion like never before. It's a wartime romance that captures the rush, thrill, and doubt of falling and staying in love. And y'all, this is a true story drawn from Schenken's own parents' letters. And it reminds us that even in the hardest times, love endures. So check out Bob and Jean on stage through April 19th. You can get your tickets at zachtheater.org. That's ZACH theater.org. Just off the Texas coast sits a unique beach town marked with salty vibes and sun-soaked memories. Port Aransas is a place where family traditions unfold naturally, and beauty lies both in island views and the unhurried moments between adventures. It's a place where multiple generations can get together under one roof to share slow beachfront mornings and cool Gulf breeze evenings. An island escape with 18 miles of shoreline to cast your line, kayak with the kids, or simply cruise the coast in a golf cart. One visit, and you'll see why generations of Texans have anchored their traditions to the island life. Start your new favorite family tradition in Port Aransas, Texas. Go to visitportaransas.com and plan your visit to Austin's beach. So for years, District Attorney Jose Garza has been criticized for being soft on crime. Do you think that this is going to hurt or help this idea that he's soft on crime? And actually, I'm just also curious if you think he's soft on crime.
Well, let me just say this about that. I mean, I think soft on crime is in the eye of the beholder.
Fair.
If you talk to law enforcement who work these cases, who see them at a ground level, certainly, they have been outspoken throughout his administration about their belief that he is soft on crime. And I think that is also true for many members of our community, particularly people who, frankly, may have more conservative political leanings. What we know is that, Jose Garza, throughout his first administration and now clearly into his second, has been a political lightning rod for his approach to the criminal justice system and criminal justice reform. And the truth is there has been sort of a lot of noise around him throughout his first and now into his second term. I think what makes this so stand out in such a way, and frankly, a compelling issue, is that this cuts to the heart of the daily operations and daily management of cases within the criminal justice system. This is a really kind of concrete way that raises questions about their oversight of cases and how prosecutors are handling their cases and how the district attorney himself is managing all of that.
Now, this, brings me to my next question. So he's been DA in Travis County since 2021. What do we know about how he runs shop and how it compares to previous DAs?
Yeah, I think that, certainly he points to a lot of his successes within his first term, with regard to, for example, sexual assault prosecutions and successful sexual assault prosecutions. But there have been other kind of hallmarks of his platform that frankly have fallen short. And an example of that in the minds of many people are his prosecution of law enforcement officers and where all of that sort of shook out. We saw, nearly 24 police officers indicted in the aftermath of the protests, only to see those cases, all but a handful of them, be dismissed. And so I think that left questions in the minds of many people about his pursuit of those cases and whether or not he really had the facts adequately collected and put together before bringing those charges, before bringing those indictments against those police officers. But at the same time, Nikki, we need only look back 3 or 4 months, 5 months to see that Jose Garza, frankly, has a lot of political capital in this community. He won his election by a landslide, make no mistake. And so when it comes to really representing the values of, Travis County progressives, you need only look at the results of the election to see that at least from a values standpoint, he is in lockstep with much of the electorate here in the county.
It's so funny. It's like you're reading my mind because I was sitting here. It's always been strange to me that a district attorney is a political seat. That's always been, that's just always been odd to me, right? That it can't just be pretty cut and dry and just, not something that you have to kind of like vie for.
Also true of judges. Another one that makes people kind of raise their eyebrows a little bit.
I saw the Democratic Senator Sarah Eckhart, former Travis County judge. I read that she said she had grave concerns about the way Garza was running the shop. Why do her thoughts matter on this story?
Well, that's a very good point. First of all, just the fact that she, on her own, kind of weighed into this was a very big moment. And I think it's an unknown answer about what her potential motivation could have been. I've certainly heard, speculation all around that. One possibility too is that she just felt compelled as a leading voice in the party and in the progressive, movement in government to say something. I think the other issue that she did say publicly that she was grappling with at the Capitol are all of these bills aimed at bail reform and other bills that are targeting criminal justice. And her point was essentially, this is not helping. This kind of this issue that is coming to light from Travis County, it could potentially result in legislation or proposed legislation that would actually make it more difficult for people to get out of jail or cause people to stay in jail longer. And so I think that was the other reason in the minds of people, particularly on the political scene, who have been watching this, have said that she, went publicly in the way, talked publicly in the way that she did.
Who is defending Garza right now or standing by his side at this point?
That's a really good question. I mean, we have reached out to a lot of his supporters as all of this has sort of, unfolded over the past few weeks. And I think a lot of his supporters are really kind of taking a wait and see. But again, there is a big bank of goodwill that he has, I think, in the community.
Oh, absolutely.
The degree to which this is impacting that or could impact that over time, I think that's an unknown answer at this point.
A wait and see.
Oh, I think so. Yes.
Now, I forgot to ask you earlier, are the two murder suspects back in custody? Or are they just still out in the world? I mean, like out in the world chilling. How do they remedy? How are they remedying these missteps? Do we know? Are they talking about that?
The two murder suspects, one of them was taken back into custody after Garza's office made a motion to the judge for her to place him back in the Travis County Jail on an increased bond. That did happen. Interestingly, though, the DA's office did not make a similar kind of aggressive move to get the other defendant back in jail. So that has been interesting as well. But in terms of the impact and what has happened, again, there's this new written policy that his office has put in place telling that court managers, people who oversee prosecutors in the county's 9 felony district courts, that they have to weekly look at their cases, look at a calendar, look at the age of a case, look at the number of days a person has been in jail, and that when those felony cases get to a 70-day mark, they should be calendared for presentation to the grand jury. And of course, we'll be watching to see whether or not there is, adherence or compliance to that policy.
Now, if they don't get things together, what can we expect next? What are the repercussions if they don't get it together?
First of all, anything can happen. Anybody can ask anybody to resign
That's true.
at any time. I mean,
That's
I
true.
think that that's part of what we don't know at this point. Does this somehow get fixed and kind of everyone moves along, or are there more kind of issues like this that arise during the next 3 years of his administration? And I think that that structurally and organizationally, it's clear that even they acknowledge that they had some work to do in this arena. They've issued this new directive, but definitely this triggered kind of a red hot spotlight on his office and the management of his office.
Wow. Wow. You have blown me away again. I mean, if this is just, I still can't get my mind over the fact that one guy is still out, and we don't really have any idea why or what the difference is. And I'm still thinking about those 26 people that you talked about earlier and what's going on with them. So is there anything else that we...
Yeah, can I just answer one question about the 26?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
It appeared as though once we started asking questions about those 26, that prosecutors did swing into action to resolve some of those cases. And when I say resolve, I mean either through indicting them. There was one person on a third offense DWI who sat in jail for more than 220 days without an indictment. And ultimately, prosecutors offered him a plea agreement to resolve his case. But we also found examples of people who sat in jail for significantly longer than 90 days, only to have their cases, rejected for prosecution. We found examples of that as well. So, yeah, I mean, I
Tony, that just made me so mad. They're just sitting in jail for nothing? Well, not nothing, but I mean...
exactly. I mean, they're sitting in jail beyond the 90 days to bring an indictment against them.
I'm really curious if that opens the county up to any kind of legal action. Like, can they be sued or like...
Yeah, so Nikki, I hate to say this, but stay tuned because we are examining that very question at this time
Yes.
to
Yes. Yes.
determine whether or
Yes.
not there could be some kind of litigation
Lawsuits.
that could result.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, this is wild. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me the rundown quick and easy so I can understand
absolutely.
it. And I will absolutely be checking in with you for an update because I feel like county is about to get sued. Somebody's getting sued.
We will see.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having
Thanks,
me.
Tony. Thank you. That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Tony's work in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.